Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron Hoisington, here with Ryan Nelson, founder of Alchemy Wealth Management, published author. Find his book on Amazon, Your Fiscal Physical, 7 Keys to Becoming Financially Fit. Great read. Really recommend it there. And if you guys are interested in this podcast, hopefully you're listening, subscribed, all the different platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Every Tuesday morning we drop these, and we're excited to have you along today. Ryan, what's going on with you, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing solid. Another day, get to learn, expand my knowledge bank regarding financial topics. So I'm excited to learn today. You ready to jump into it?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So today's topic, we're going to talk about nonprofits. What are nonprofits? How to explain them? What it means? How it really kind of all works. I think this is one of those topics that I hear the word like nonprofit, and I'm like, oh, perfect. Like it's something that maybe doesn't make any money,
right? Or
like there's no profit, none whatsoever. People work there; they're all volunteers. Or I over the years, I've learned that it's probably pretty misleading as far as that goes. So I'm excited for you. I'd take a moment for the listeners, kind of think about what you think a nonprofit is, what it goes into it, what it entails, and I'm hoping Ryan can break down some common misconceptions and what it actually is regarding how a nonprofit is explained. So I think that's possible, Ryan.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Let's give it a try,
Let's do it.
So yeah, I think like one of the most common misconceptions around nonprofits is exactly that they don't make money, and that it's just like a volunteer organization, volunteering for a cause. But that is definitely not true. So non-for-profit does not mean that there is no profit. What it does mean is that the organization is not owned by shareholders.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So any extra money stays inside the organization. So nonprofits do make money. They can charge fees, sell services, generate revenue. They can do all of the sort of normal things that a business does. But the key difference is what they can then do with that profit that they've generated from those services or those fees, right? And so in a for-profit business, so a kind of a normal run-of-the-mill business, a for-profit business, the profit would go to the owners or the investors. So the way I always think about this is, with clients, or when I'm talking with clients, when we think about, like, let's say Apple Computers, right? If Apple Computers has a bunch of excess revenue at the end of the year, that would be profit. Now they get to choose, what do they do with this profit? They may reinvest it back into themselves to create the next iPhone or the next VR headset, or who knows what they're doing, right? They probably got some cool projects down the road that we don't even know about. So they could take some of that profit, reinvest in themselves, or they could take some of that profit and share it with us, the shareholders, and that would be what we'd call a dividend, right? So that'd be a publicly traded for-profit company sharing with us, the shareholders, through a dividend, or they could share their money with the shareholders or the owners for a non-public company as well. But so for a non-profit company, they wouldn't have that option. There are no shareholders, so they wouldn't have that option to share that profit with the owners. So all the revenue it creates stays inside the organization.
Gotcha.
That's really the main difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit organization. So really just no dividends, no owners like cashing out. But that being said, so employees of nonprofits, they can still get paid. They're normal employees of this organization. So as an employee standpoint, you're just collecting a check just like an employee from a for-profit organization, right?
Okay.
Executives of nonprofits can still make a lot of money. So there's some really big nonprofits out there. And the key leaders of these really big organizations, whether they're for-profit or not-for-profit, or are making a lot of money. Yeah. So these key leaders and executives of nonprofit organizations are still making typically really high salaries. And so is important to realize that payroll, so what you're paying the employees, that's an expense. It's not a profit. So it's okay for these organizations, these nonprofit organizations, to have payroll. They have expenses.
Gotcha.
They're all going to have expenses. Payroll is an expense, so they can pay their people. So the people working for nonprofits are making money. It's not, nonprofits aren't necessarily automatically like ethical or efficient. Some are run very well. Some are not probably ran that well, right? And so, you shouldn't hear the word nonprofit and then immediately assume that organization is like super ethical or anything like that. Hopefully they are. Hopefully all businesses are running ethically.
Yeah,
hopefully all
dream.
for-profit, right? But that in itself, just the fact that they're a nonprofit is not some sort of like sign off that, hey, this is a good organization doing good things.
Okay. Good.
Another thing, so as you donate to nonprofits, so I used to be heavily involved in a couple of local nonprofits. And so one of the things that you pay close attention to is how much of every dollar like donated sort of goes to the cause.
Okay.
Right. So like we said, there's certain expenses that all these organizations have. And so if you give $1, with one organization, maybe 25 cents goes to the cause, another organization, 50 cents goes to the cause, and another organization, 75 cents goes to the cause. Clearly, if you're giving the $1 to that organization, you're probably hoping it's going to a cause.
Right.
It'd be better to give it to an organization that's a little more efficient and can put more of that dollar to the cause you're hoping or intending it to go to, right?
It's a good call. Yeah.
And so sometimes, maybe some of these organizations, they're paying their employees a lot of money, and maybe 75% of the money that nonprofit is generating is going to the employee salaries, and only 25% going to the actual cause. Yeah, that may not be the nonprofit you want to donate to, and there may be another one that has 70, 80, 90% of the money donated going to the cause, and only 10% represented by salaries.
With just out of curiosity, with the nonprofit itself, do they have to disclose that? Is that like a piece of like? I'd be curious to see. Obviously, you could probably do some research on it and such.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's lots of organizations. The short answer is I don't know exactly how that gets disclosed, or what is necessarily disclosed. I do remember, like when I was more involved with nonprofits, when we would submit for grants, we would be disclosing that information for the grant. So you think, this grant, they may be giving you $200,000, $1 million, $500,000, right? So similarly, it's like this just a big donation almost. They want to know, hey, if we're giving you $500,000, is this how much of this $500,000 is going to go to the community versus salaries, right? So I do know, like at certain times when I was with these organizations, that would get disclosed. I don't know if it's a requirement, like on tax documents, that it gets disclosed. So I just don't know exactly.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just curious if there was, because I think you hit right on the point of like you hear the word, like we're a nonprofit, and you're like, oh, cool, they're probably absolutely ethical. Everything goes right back into the cause and such too. But I think you made a good point of like, maybe not always the case, and it's kind of like that the old proverb, trust but verify kind of piece of it.
Yeah. So exactly. So being a nonprofit, right? It's a legal and tax classification. So that's what it is, legal and tax classification. It is not a promise of like honesty or effectiveness.
Sure.
Right. So two different things. Don't want to get them confused. But the reality is, like, what we were asking, like, does that have to be disclosed? Like, a lot of good nonprofits do disclose that information because they know donors care about it. And in most nonprofits out there, it's just like most for-profits. Most for-profits are running really ethical businesses trying to do good work. Most nonprofits are running really ethical businesses trying to do good work, right? Like 99.9% of businesses out there, right, are probably just good people trying to do good things. And so the reality is, like, most nonprofits are happy to disclose that information, whether or not they're required to. They're happy to disclose that type of information, and they are working to get that number higher, right? So like, even my involvement with our nonprofits, like we would be trying to figure out how do we get more money going to, basically benefit the community or the cause, and are there any things we can do to be more efficient? And like every single nonprofit is trying to get more efficient themselves, but they also are struggling themselves. Like, hey, it's kind of funny, like oftentimes for them to get more efficient, they need to get bigger, so they need more funding. So it's like you can get in this little trap where it's like, yeah, of course we're not as efficient as this big company, as this big nonprofit. We're much smaller. We need money to get to the efficiency level so we can be like that organization, right? So yeah, there's kind of a
interesting cycle that you
exactly.
kind of go through with that for sure. But awesome, man. Well, I think I learned something here. Anything else you want to talk on this topic here, Ryan, or give any last minute things?
I think that's nonprofit in a nutshell for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Because I think there, and maybe we'll do a future episode as well too. I think there's like there's the difference between like nonprofit and not for profit. I think there's like differences. I can't remember. Like
there could be.
Yeah, we might have to look into that. Maybe I should have written that one down before I started teasing an episode like that. But we'll circle back on that maybe in the future. But hopefully you guys got something out of this, and everybody hang tight. We'll be right back on the other side of this.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
All right, Ryan, I am back here with you, and we're on this side of the Fiscal Physical podcast. Just you guys hopefully learned some stuff about nonprofits there. And Ryan, I would consider you a big efficiency guy. Would that be a fair I guess, quality to call about you?
Sure.
You like efficiency?
Yeah, I like efficiency.
Yeah. So this question kind of goes into that overall. If you could eliminate one daily, necessary or not, annoyance, what would it be for you? And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because, like I said, generally I feel like you do a pretty good job of like, if I can automate something, I'm probably going to do it. If I can make people's lives easier, or my life easier, probably going to do it. So I'm curious what you would, what's one daily thing that you do that you'd like to eliminate?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I think I kind of went in a different direction maybe, cool. But like I don't know if annoying. I don't know if this even qualifies because I don't know that it's a huge annoyance. But like, if you could just get rid of sleep, like that's 8 hours a day, right?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I think that's the low hanging fruit. Like, there's nothing else we do more in our life than sleep. I don't find sleep particularly annoying, but if you think about like a 24-hour day, 33% of your life or whatever spent sleeping, like, yeah, you'd have a lot more life to live, so to speak. So I suppose it would be that. If you, what about you?
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that. There's a movie, it's called The Martian, I think is what it is. It's an old movie with like the guy from Back to the Future. I can't remember his name, the old guy Doc, but he's in it. He's like he's like an alien who comes to like Earth. He's like he's talking to like his human handler or whatever, and he's like, human guy's like, hey, do you guys sleep on your planet? He's like, oh, absolutely. That's one thing we definitely agree on. We are on the same page. We're gonna get some sleep. And the guy's like, great, because they're really tired. So he turns off the lights, and like 30 seconds goes by, and the alien guy wakes up. He's like, wake up! It's morning time. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you've been asleep for 30 seconds. Like, 30 seconds? I really was tired then. And like just how they had like wired their bodies. Like, and the moral of it was like, oh, why would you sleep for 8 hours when you could just like get it done with 30 seconds or whatever? And so I think that's a huge one that I think that, because you mentioned, if you live to be 80 years old or something like that, you're probably have been asleep for like
years.
24 of those years, which is a wild thing to think about what you could be doing at that point. So, no, I think sleep's a great one. I think for myself, like, I mean, it's and I work from home, so put it like that. I think if you could eliminate commuting places,
that's a great one.
Like I even if I have to go to the grocery store, I have to go to the bank, or I do these different things, I hate commuting places. Yeah. And even like coming here, we're doing this in a recording place, and it's outside of my house. I'm like, okay, like I got a plan for 25 minutes in the car, whatever. Yeah. Never know what the traffic's going to be like these areas. So I think if I could, maybe that's teleportation or whatever, but like if you could eliminate commuting, I think that'd be a good one, just as far as like, safety wise and such too. But as you mentioned the sleep one, I'm like, I could do a lot of stuff without having to like sleep.
Yeah, that would be a good one too. Even as I'm just kind of thinking, even just something like almost like showering, like
sure.
It would be efficient if I suppose you didn't need to do it. And one other thing, I think AI is kind of maybe going to solve this eventually, but like, I feel like all the time I'll be like in the car or something, and I'll say, oh, I need to do X, Y, Z, or like I need to send this email, or like, like it's almost like if like Siri or whatever actually did what like you wanted to do, but like, if it was so good that I could say, you just remember you're driving in the car or like you're walking the dog or whatever, and you could just say like, hey, Siri, send Aaron an email about this. I need to remember to do this and tell him they did this or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it seems like AI might be able to solve that eventually, but it's still super far away, like as far as I can tell. Like I don't know that it would know who Aaron is. Or right. There's just so many variables there. But yeah, there's oftentimes just like those things like lingering in the back of your mind that you're like, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I need to get this done. And there's a point in the day where you've thought about it. Yeah. And if you could just get it done in that moment, it would be beautiful. But right now, I don't think the technology exists to get it done.
It is funny you mentioned that too, because I go through those same thing. I'll be like laying in bed and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I'll remember that in the morning.
Yeah.
No,
you remember needing to remember something.
I remembered, I was like, I got to remember. I knew there was something to remember. Or like, I'll make a reminder on my phone or do these certain things. But sometimes the time that it takes me to put on my glasses, to find my phone, to open it up, to go to my reminders app or whatever, I'm like, I probably just could have done the topic that I'm talking there too. So, and I don't know what capacity I am in. I'm famous for I'll just send my wife voice messages. I'll be like, hey, I want to talk about this when I get home, and 50% of the time we actually remember to talk about it, but I'm like, I'd love to increase that to be able to do that. But awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing there, Ryan, and turn over to the listeners. What would you guys like to eliminate out of your daily lives that might be an annoyance or just something you don't enjoy doing or you think could really increase the quality of life? Let us know. And also, let us know if you guys have any podcast topics. We'd love to hear those. Email us, podcast@alchemywealth.com. And with that subtle plug there, Ryan, I'll leave it over to you, man.
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode. And consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.